Something that really bothers me is that how much things we buy and consume and get our hands on are not built to last. Things don't last, and it really sucks because all these things that we have are very, very cheap, very, very consumable, very, very disposable, and therefore replaceable. But what I will say is that there is a importance to the things that are small. There's an importance to the things that we can have an effect on, that we can make of quality, that we can get our hands dirty for, so that they may last a lifetime. One example of those is that if you get your hands dirty with some clay, you can make some incredibly high quality pottery, and these bowls or cups will last a generation or beyond. There's something important in that. There's something skillful in that. That's something I believe. And that's something I've held very, very dear to myself for a long time now. And this really is the point of the video, is this idea that I have of making a homemade home, as I've called it. Now, in my head, the homemade home is a way of describing and giving a term to a house that's just filled with objects that have been truly made. They've been handcrafted. They have been built from the ground up, piece by piece, by the people that live there. One day, I do hope to have a home like that. A home where I have learned all of these skills that have made all these objects, these simple, everyday objects, for my family and for my loved ones that they get to use, cherish, and even pass down once I'm dead, because one day I will die. And that does concern me. The things that I do in this lifetime should be worth something. They should last. They should last more than the time I'm here for, or the time of the people who knew me are here for. It only takes a few generations before none of the people of my descendants were ever able to meet me, and they're all gone. Everybody who remembers you is dead. You are completely forgotten unless you have something so great and important to leave behind. I saw a bird. I was looking at the bird. By making these small things, you create something so important, something that is, it's so many things. It's not just important. It's not just handcrafted and special because it's handcrafted. It's special because things are built to last. They are built to outlive us. They are built with the humility that this object is in many ways more resilient to life than me. It will last longer than me. I won't last as long as a wooden bowl that I turn on a lathe. And that's comforting in many ways, and it's how do I describe it? If you look at an object that you've made with quality and you know is going to outlive you, it's pretty surreal. It's like that feeling you get when you look at the ocean and everything feels small and nothing feels challenging because everything has just been absolutely shrunk into nothingness at the absolute just vastness of the ocean. So I look at this small object and I see how much more it is than me, how much longer it will last than me, how many more people will be touched in their lives by this bowl than me. And that's important. So something that I always find so very important is taking things that already exist, or perhaps we already have things of, and basically recreating them. You take something that is very cheap and very bad, really, just poor quality that you know is not going to last. It already is breaking down on you. And you decide you're either going to A, fix it up, make it last longer, or B, completely make something new that will last longer, or C, buy a version of this thing that will last forever. There's three options with creating these things around us that will last longer, and that is part of my own vision of this home that it makes things that are homemade. Is I look around and I see things that are everyday objects, sure, but they're so cheap and they're so replaceable and they're so often replaced, and I just think that, well, maybe I could figure out how to make a better one of those, or maybe I could build something that'll last, or maybe instead of replacing this when it breaks, which is going too soon, I can start working on its replacement myself. I walk through my house and I see things. I see things like paper towel dispensers. I see things like brooms. I see things like furniture, like chairs and desks. I see beds that don't really last. I see all these little things. I see like a lamp that sits on my desk. I have a lamp that sits on my desk, and it's lasted a long time, yes, but it's only because it hasn't really moved much. And the reason why it hasn't moved much is because the lamp has like heavy stuff put in the bottom of it to weigh it down, because the neck of it is adjustable, like really, really freely. And that stuff has started to like dry out, crumble, and just fall through and leave debris everywhere. Why? Why? It's so simple to not do that, I feel like. Am I crazy? Like, I look at things like that, I'm like, am I crazy? Does it have to just disintegrate? Does it have to literally disintegrate at some point? Or can it just be a slab of concrete? I mean, shit. But I see all these small things that are gonna get replaced soon, or are gonna get replaced sooner or later, and I just think that maybe I should do something about it. Maybe I should make something better out of it. Maybe I should make a difference in this whole weird cycle of just replacing and rebuying and watching things deteriorate significantly faster than they really need to. I have seen a lot of things. I've seen them around my house. I've seen the ideas online. I've gathered up this list of things that I feel as though should be made with more care, that should be made with more thought in mind. And I've made several things with that sort of thought behind them. I've made wooden combs. I've made wooden spoons, plenty of spoons as well. This is the spoon I made in my previous video if you want to check that one out. I've made wooden buttons out of avocado pits. That was a really interesting one. I've made this really cool sandpaper cutter that cuts down these large bulk pieces of sandpaper I get at hardware stores down into the just right size for me to hand sand projects like I did with this spoon and those combs and those buttons. And that's where this video comes in. These are what I made today. I made wooden garden signs that my wonderful fiance painted a picture of the thing I'm growing. And while this does not have information on it, before I could write down the date and when the day I should expect to harvest stuff from them, I could do all that fun stuff. I could write down the exact variety, or I could just have fun with it. I could sacrifice all that efficiency and that detail for something that is warm, for something that has character, for something that has a homemade look and feel to it. Because look at this, it looks rough, it looks okay, but you know what? It's gonna bring a wonderful charm to my little garden. And that's kind of the point. It doesn't have to be cheap and efficient like these pieces of plastic are. These were a ton of work. These took me like 2 days to make, and yet I'm going to like them more. Not necessarily because of their effort, but because of just what they bring to the table. They're going to last. I get to reuse them. Maybe I don't plant butternut squash next year. Okay, it gets put up in the shed, and the year I bring out the butternut squash seeds and I plant them in the ground, I get to walk my ass back there, grab this sign and go, all right, and stick it right in the ground where it belongs. And it gets to sit there. And instead of walking up closely, having to read these things, oh, what did I plant here? It hasn't sprouted up yet. I get to see this big old sign from a distance and see the awesome painting that my fiance did and go, that's where the butternut squash is. That's what I find so very interesting and important about these. You've probably heard the stories of like being at relative's house or grandparents' house of some kind. You have some sort of object that's a bit unique. It doesn't seem like it came from a store. It doesn't feel like it was made in a factory somewhere. You're like, oh, what is this? You're wondering what it is to yourself. And some relative of yours comes by and goes, oh, your so-and-so made that. Your grandpa, your aunt, your uncle, your great-great-great-grandma made that with their hands. They quilted that. They carved that. They built that. They built this house. They created the floor tiles. There's all these things that have historical answers, and they have significance to the whole family, because this is something that's now been passed through and through and through to several people after that person's dead and gone. So I think to myself that, like, oh, this spoon that I made with hardwood, which I say hardwood, I found a log on the side of the road. That's what I made this out of. It doesn't have to be glamorous to make something cool. You just have to be willing to take what you got and actually turn it into something neat. It is the hope of mine that this spoon does get used, at least by my grandkids, right? I hope to myself I made it of good enough quality to last that long, to last through family for that long, to where one day somebody is stirring this up and out of nowhere they just see like one of their kids or their grandkids and like, you know, your great-grandfather made this spoon. And maybe the kid goes, whoa, that's cool. And maybe the kid goes like, I don't care. But it's true. And this spoon wouldn't mean anything to any of those people if I never made it. If I never put so much effort into making it last and making it as quality as I did. Because I certainly tried. And I think it turned out pretty well. Though as I get more experienced, I'm sure I'll make some really good stuff out of some very hard woods. So that is part of the joy of making these things, is that you get to see all the little intricate details, and anybody who comes after you and looks at it can also know that every single little thing about it was made by design. and on purpose. And if by accident, the accident was hidden and adapted into the design at the end, because that's happened before. And what's so important about these things is the ways that I know in my heart they are true. Because there's a handful of things that I have in my life that mean that extra special amount, because I know how irreplaceable they genuinely are. How much, if they were damaged, there's not an entire factory line of which were created that I could replace mine with. One of those things is I have a heavy leather jacket that my grandfather once owned and used. I have that now, and it's real leather and it's real durable. It's not something that I can replace or I would want to replace. It's something that's special and important to me for many, many reasons, and mostly it's because I took care of it and I have kept it in the shape that it's in since I've gotten it and received it. Shoot, that's the same jacket that I had to pay a specialty dry cleaner to remove all of the cigarette smoke out of it so I could wear it. It's something like that that is important because of all that it's been through, because of who owned it, and because of the reasons it's now in my hands and in my possession. Even the things that seem less, I guess, passing down a bowl, that are very important too. Things that I leave behind, like my thoughts and ideas and the things I present to the people around me or that I keep to myself. I journal just as a healthy habit and as I feel I need to, and it's great, I love it. I've almost filled up the first journal I ever used, which I started several years ago. It's very interesting. It feels like a whole chapter of my life is changing. But I think that all those words and thoughts I put in that are also valuable, and they can go on longer than I can, so long as the paper's quality enough. And things in similar vein to that, when I read, I take notes in my books, I highlight things, I underline, I add really fun curved brackets to them, and I just hope that those also find their hands into somebody that would appreciate this, like, wow, this is something that was used. Maybe I'll use it too. Maybe I'll use what they put in this book as something for me to do, or as something for them to stand on, like, you know, they stand on the shoulders of giants. They stand on the shoulders of my work or my thoughts or my ideas or my notes and such I left behind. And in an even more similar and literal vein, these videos are in a way a collection of my thoughts, a video journal of sorts. That's why I've named this channel what it is. It does become a sort of archive of thoughts and curated things that have come to my mind and have been whittled down to their more proper and complete forms, so that I may share what those complete thoughts and ideas are with whoever may find them useful. This channel, these videos, these writings, these ideas, these things that I say are all in some ways a effort to put out whatever I have into the world so that it may last longer than me. Because one day I won't be around to teach anymore anything that I know in my wisdom of old age, where I get to teach my grandkids things or any passerby things that I can. I won't be able to tell anybody anything. I won't be able to teach my wisdom anymore once I'm dead, right? So if I'm old and wise, one day I'll be dead and unhelpful. So I guess in a way the goal would be dead and still helpful despite that. So the end goal would really just be, over time, slowly but surely filling a home with these handmade objects, these handmade simple objects, or these handmade larger pieces of furniture even, that would not only escape how poor quality just about everything you can buy is right now, but it would also fill that home with a very special warmth and story and character to it. Being in a place that was truly, through sweat and tears, brought up from where it was, there's something special about that. And it is my hope that I create that for the people who come after me, because it won't really be for me. I'll enjoy it, but it's really for the experience of my family and those who come after me that I do this for, that I have this goal for, that I spend 4 days making a damn spoon, but just for that spoon to last 100 years. And in that way, it's worth it.